Hello and welcome to the second of our videos on Mecha Strike Arena. This time we're going to look at strikes, or attacking the enemy essentially. Now I've set up our MATAT and our HAGAT a little bit different from the last video. If you haven't watched that last video, it's very useful as the movement system is a little bit to get your head around at first. These represent inertia tokens. Inertia is, one of the main power mechanics in the game. Now first I'm going to show you this model taking a shot at that model, and then I'm going to show you different things that we can do with those inertia tokens to spend them. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the characters in the game and show you some more cards firstly. First I'll show you a character card. Now this is the character Requiem. She's actually quite a nasty machine post-human villain, or villainess as it were. And you can see she's got quite a few stats compared to the core we looked at previously. We've got dodge, parry, control, aim, and martial. The two we're going to be using for this is the aim and the martial, because they're our attack stats. When we want to strike our enemy, we're going to use that aim stat because it's a ranged strike. This guy here, I'm going to shoot that one there. So our aim was 2. So we get 2 dice. Not only that, we have another card I'm going to show you. The sensor card. Now this is just a basic tier 1 release sensor. It has a couple of stats on it. It has targeting and speed. Yes, funnily enough, targeting is bound up in attacking. We're going to add that as well. So you'll see different cards will have different combinations. You'll have some cards that will have targeting 2, and you'll have some characters that will have an aim of 4. It'll get you different dice pools. But that forms our basic pool of dice. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be rolling these dice, as most games do, against our enemy's defense. Now, again, these cards share these models share pretty similar stats. This is an Aegis card. I'm just going to use this one as an example here. It's not normally the right size for these particular models, but we're going to be going against this defense of 4. When we're rolling to strike, we're going against defense. And that is our target number for these dice. Now, you can think of it however you want. You might think of each dice as an individual bullet. You might think of it as how well the pilot is combining their aim with their targeting. Whatever you want, but essentially, each of these dice that once rolled has a 4 or up is successful. Now you can see we've got a 2, a 4, and a 5. Because the 2 is under 4, it's not successful. But the 4 and the 5 are equal to or higher than that defense we were looking at, so they've hit. They're successful hits. Now, what happens next is we combine them with a couple of other statistics. This is a weapon card. Now, this damage stat here gets added to these as more dice. Successful strike dice become damage dice. We add the damage of the weapon itself as yet more dice. And then if you remember me talking about that core card in the last video, this little power stat here also adds. So we've now got 5 dice there. Now whereas before we were rolling against the target number of defense, now we're rolling against the armor. This is our dice pool, all 5 dice. Our target is 5 or higher. Each dice that is 5 or greater is going to inflict a point of damage. Now for those that aren't familiar with D10s, a 0 is a 10. So looking at my dice here, I've got 2 10s, an 8, a 5, and a 3. I needed a 5 or higher, so the 3 has failed, but these 4 dice are going to do some damage. When we're marking damage in Mecha Strike Arena, we mark from the top row first, then the next row, then the next row, and from left to right. So these first 4 boxes here would get marked for damage. Now, let's say we've had that first shot, which we get 1 strike for free each round, but we're not content. We haven't done quite enough damage to our enemy. See that little black cog there? That represents an impairing damage. That's worth certain points in the game, and it can hinder the enemy mech. Once per round, we may spend one of these inertia tokens to fire a weapon again. So you can see now how they're useful as a resource. and why, in the video earlier, I had this guy accelerate to have more tokens than he was actually able to use to aim. Now, as before, we have an aim of 2, so we're going to start with 2 dice, and we have a targeting of 1, so I'm going to add a 3rd dice. But yet again, I can spend one of these once per strike, spend 1 token to add an extra dice in, and that's called powering my weapon. You might think of that as, you know, Scotty, full power to lasers, or some joke like that from whatever sci-fi you like. Now, these are to hit. We know from before that we need 4 or higher. Let's roll. And this time, every single one of them is hit. Now, our opponent over there isn't a big fan of that. What I'm going to show you here is a different character card. We'll say that they are the other tier 2 character, Captain Huntress. Now, Captain Huntress doesn't really like being shot in the face, let's face it. So what she's going to do is spend an Inertia token to try and dodge it. Now I'm going to put these 4 dice here, just to the side. They're all successful, keep that in mind. What we're then going to do is try and do a dodge. Now, dodge starts with the dice pool of, funnily enough, the character's dodge. 4 dice. Now, I'm not sure how well you can see it on the back of the card here, but it also uses the agility of the mecha. It's this middle number here. The agility of that particular mecha is 2, so I could add in 2 more dice. However, for a dodge, we can never roll more than have actually successfully hit. So from those 6, our maximum is actually 4. Now, for these dice to be successful, they must equal to or beat the amount of dice our opponent rolled against us. When they're successful, they negate one of those dice. So the MATAT with Requiem rolled 4 dice to hit. So any of these dice that show 4 or up are going to be successful and negate 1 successful strike dice. And they are all successful. Look at that. What a beautiful roll that was. Well done, Captain Huntress. So, because we've got 4 successes here, all 4 of those dice get cancelled out, and the strike is now a miss. Now, after dodging at least 1 dice or more successfully, the mecha must move 1 inch straight forward. You might think of that as ducking and rolling with the shot. I hope that's been enough of an explanation on how strikes work. We'll get a bit more involved with our videos as we go on, but I just wanted to give out a couple of basic videos for now to explain the 2 basic parts of the system, which is the movement, rotation, acceleration, and so on, and then how the strike rolls work. Please keep an eye out for some more videos in the next few weeks, and sign up to our Patreon if you're interested in the game. Maybe buy some of our stuff off our website, daregamesoz.com.au, and we hope to see you playing soon.